The Galactic laugh track. The Hall of Echoes shimmered under soft starlight, its crystal dome refracting the blue glow of the nearby supergiant. Delegates from over 50 intelligent species had gathered in ceremonial finery, their appendages, frills, and feathers twitching with amusement. The occasion? A cultural exhibit hosted by the Earth delegation, human myths and legends, retrospective. Floating hollow images played in the center of the amphitheater, a thunder-wielding Norse god, a serpent devouring its own tail, a winged figure with a flaming sword standing at heaven's gate. The laughter began subtly among the Delorii, rippling through their chorus voices like a silver bell. The Voxari joined with dry electronic chuckles, their neural translators crackling with delight. Even Krell, whose high voice rarely strayed from solemnity, let out a clicking rhythm that was unmistakably mocking. Primitive minds invent gods because they fear the stars, declared Archivist Velik of the Delorii Concord, reclining on his grav throne. His iridescent skin pulsed with satisfaction. You clothed natural forces in mythology and called it knowledge. Thunder became Thor. Fire became Prometheus. Death? Anubis. It is quaint. The central display rotated to an ancient image, a massive, scaled beast coiled around a mountain. Jormungandr, the world serpent. Tell me, Vela continued, directing his amusement toward the Earth delegation. Did you also believe in fire-breathing reptiles who hoarded shiny rocks? Ah yes, dragons you called them. Such fearsome nonsense. Most of the delegates laughed again. Only one human was present, and he didn't laugh. Commander Rafe Cade sat calmly, hands folded, wearing the formal black uniform of a diplomatic observer. His expression was unreadable, his short hair neat, his eyes sharp. Unlike the others, he wasn't amused or offended. He was watching. He rose when addressed, as protocol required. "Thank you, Archivist," he said mildly. "I admit, our myths are strange when viewed without context." Velik waved a lazy tendril. "Strange, but predictable. All emerging species create fantasy to explain what they do not understand. You are merely behind." Cade's mouth twitched just slightly. "Or perhaps," he said, voice low, "we remember things you forgot." That earned a few murmurs, but no real concern. The assembly moved on, mocking human tales of angels, demons, and forgotten underworlds. For the galaxy's dominant species, human myths were little more than humorous artifacts, proof of Earth's cultural immaturity. No one noticed the quiet transmission Rafe sent from a concealed implant in his jaw. Across the stars, on a moon cloaked in plasma storms, a transmission was received. Signal confirmed. Proceeding to Phase 2. Inside a hidden facility beneath the surface, engineers and tacticians moved with urgency. The walls bore banners with names written in ancient tongues. Ares, Leviathan, Valkyrie, Anubis. Warships stirred in their cradles. Massive, black-hulled vessels bristling with unorthodox weaponry. Their designs borrowed from nightmares and legends, shaped to frighten as much as to fight. They had waited decades in the dark, preparing, watching, remembering. Back in the Hall of Echoes, the final display ended with a projection of a winged man battling a beast of shadow. Michael versus the dragon. The alien delegates stood, stretching and fluttering their limbs in a gesture of finality. Another delightful distraction from a backward world. Earth was entertaining, perhaps even charming in its simplicity, but no one feared them. Not yet. As the crowd dispersed, Rafe Cade turned slowly and walked toward the exit, pausing only to glance back at the now empty display. The last image still flickered. Michael, sword raised, facing the dark. Rafe smiled faintly. "You shouldn't have laughed." Then he stepped into the shadows and vanished. Whispers in the void. The Scylla station drifted silently in orbit around Elnith 7, a cold, mineral-rich rock on the edge of human-charted space. From the outside, the station looked derelict, its panels scorched, its antennas half-melted by solar flares. To any casual observer, it was a forgotten relic of Earth's failed colonial era. That illusion was intentional. Beneath the decaying shell, however, Scylla pulsed with hidden life. Banks of advanced quantum processors hummed behind reinforced bulkheads. Dozens of personnel moved like shadows through dim-lit corridors. In the heart of it all stood Commander Rafe Cade. He removed the diplomatic sash from his uniform and dropped it onto the console, his expression hardening. The mask was off. "Status report," he said. Captain Juno Reyes, a tall woman with sharp eyes and a sharper mind, tapped a hollow terminal. "All assets are in position. Ares, Leviathan, and Valkyrie are on standby in the Kuiper expanse. Anubis is completing orbital calibration. Cloak integrity remains at 97%. Cade nodded. "Good. Any chatter from the conclave?" Reyes smirked. "They're still laughing at our myths. Let them laugh." For decades, humanity had played the fool. After their initial contact with the Galactic conclave, Earth had eagerly joined the interstellar community, only to be marginalized, dismissed, underestimated. When human diplomats realized the depth of alien condescension, Earth withdrew. Officially, it was due to internal restructuring. Unofficially, it was preparation, because humanity had uncovered a truth the others missed. Their myths weren't merely stories. They were echoes. It had started under the Antarctic ice. 70 years ago, a deep drilling operation had unearthed a chamber sealed in prehistory. Inside was a dormant structure, not organic, not fully mechanical, a fusion of alloy and something else. Buried with it were murals, humanoid figures wielding blades of fire, riding chariots of lightning, battling things that defied biology and physics. The texts were fragmented but translated slowly. Names emerged: Ra, Hades, Yahweh, Jormungandr. What the Conclave called mythology, humanity began to suspect was memory. Faded, distorted by time, but real. Rafe remembered standing before that chamber as a young lieutenant, watching the machinery pulse to life at the proximity of human DNA. He remembered the moment he realized the truth. Their ancestors hadn't invented gods. They had survived them. Back on Scylla, another operative entered. Lieutenant Anwar, their intelligence specialist. He dropped the data pad onto the table. "New intercept from the Voxari networks," he said. "They've detected anomalous gravity shifts in the Kuiper expanse. They're dismissing them as black hole fragments." Rafe grinned. "That'll change soon." The warships they were deploying weren't just military marvels. They were symbols crafted with mythological intent. Leviathan, a dreadnought built to ripple through gas giants and emerge like a sea beast from legends. Ares, a mobile artillery platform designed to break orbital sieges. Anubis, equipped with psychological warfare systems that could invade neural networks with sound and light, manifesting as visions. And Valkyrie, a sleek interceptor armed with gravitic lances and cloaking tech so advanced it could fly in a sensor range undetected and leave without a whisper. Alien civilizations prided themselves on logic and efficiency. They had evolved predictably, linearly, without the chaotic imagination that birthed human myth. They saw fear as a weakness. Humanity had learned to weaponize it. "We give them shadows," Rafe said, pacing. "We give them dragons and angels and nightmares. Let them try to model that." Reyes glanced at him. "You think they'll retaliate?" "Eventually," Rafe replied. "But first they'll hesitate. And that's all we need." Anwar looked up from his terminal. "We've received clearance from High Command. Phase 2 is greenlit. The Leviathan will begin the demonstration." "Good," Rafe said. "Make it clean. No casualties. Just terror." He stared at the starfield through the reinforced viewport, the black beyond shimmering with potential. "For centuries, we told ourselves stories to explain the world. Gods, monsters, demons." He turned to his crew. "Now we become them, the warships at the gate." The Delorii Concord prided itself on order, symmetry of thought, structure, and space. From orbit, the twin cities of the mining colony Ilithar spiraled like a double helix, glowing softly in the pale light of the system's dying star. That light vanished. Without warning, a black silhouette eclipsed the sky. It wasn't a meteor. It wasn't a recognized vessel. It was far too large. Panic broadcasts rippled across Ilithar's networks. Civilian skimmers grounded. Defensive satellites blinked to life. But nothing responded fast enough. The shadow descended with silent menace. At its core, a colossal, crescent-shaped warship with angular wings folded inward like a waiting predator. The Valkyrie. No shots fired. No communication. Only a low hum, like a deep note from some ancient stringed instrument, vibrating in the bones of every sentient being below. Inside Ilithar's command dome, Prefect Alan Vedas stared at the scans in disbelief. "It's human." "Identification inconclusive," replied the AI. "Ship profile does not match known Earth registries. It exceeds size parameters by 300%. They were a Tier 2 civilization last we checked." Vedas snapped. The lights flickered. Then the Valkyrie broadcast. A voice, female, layered with a dozen tonal harmonics, echoed through every speaker, frequency, and neural relay. "We are the myths you mocked. Observe and remember." Then came the visions. Not an attack, not even a signal in the traditional sense, something else. An atmospheric pulse embedded with high-frequency optical and audio illusions, keyed to sapient neural patterns. Above the colony, projections formed, winged beings of gold and fire, drifting down as if descending from old Terran paintings. Swords drawn, eyes burning, silent, watching. The citizens of Ilithar screamed. Some fell to their knees. A few ran into shelters. A few simply stared. They didn't understand what they were seeing, but the fear was primal. Within minutes, the Valkyrie rose again, soundlessly, and vanished beyond the clouds. Elsewhere in the galaxy, the Valkyrie were having problems of their own. At Relay Post Gamma 12, a mid-tier Valkyrie fleet lay stationed in the orbit of a turbulent gas giant. Scanning teams detected ripples in the upper atmosphere, brief but massive gravitational spikes, like something was swimming through the storm layers. They sent drones. The drones disappeared. Then, without warning, something emerged. The Leviathan breached the cloud cover like a sea monster breaching the surface of an alien ocean. Jagged armor glistened with ionized gas. Its reactor core, exposed in segments along its ventral ridge, pulsed like a massive heartbeat. The Valkyrie commander issued alerts. Targeting systems locked on. They prepared to fire. The Leviathan deployed countermeasures, hundreds of decoy signals, cloaking fogs, false gravimetric shadows. Then it pulsed a message in raw gravitational modulation, forcing Valkyrie minds to feel it instead of hear it. "This world is not yours. Retreat, or be devoured." One ship opened fire. The Leviathan responded, not with missiles or beams, but by diving back into the gas giant and triggering a planetary-scale electromagnetic disruption. The resulting storm swallowed the Valkyrie fleet's sensors whole, blinding them. When the storm cleared, the Leviathan was gone. 3 ships remained drifting, powerless and scathed and empty. The crews were gone. No damage, no breach, only the ships, floating. Back on Scylla Station, Commander Rafe Cade watched the reports come in. Panic on Ilithar. Valkyrie ships dead in space. Krell hives issuing threat queries. The galaxy was starting to notice. He turned to Captain Reyes. Reactions. Conclave's quiet, but chatter from local systems is spiking. The fear's taking hold. They don't know what's real, and that's the point. Good, Rafe murmured. He walked to the observation window. Beyond, the stars glittered indifferent. "We're not here to conquer," he said. "We're here to remind them." "Of what?" Reyes asked. Rafe smiled, cold and quiet. "That humanity never feared the dark. We mastered it, and we turned our stories into weapons." He paused. "Next phase." Reyes gestured to a side screen, where the outline of a sleek, jackal-headed warship came into focus. Anubis. "Anubis is ready. Heading for the Krell." Rafe nodded. "Time to show them the gods walk again." Judgment Day. The Krell hives were not known for fear. They had outlasted plagues, wars, and the collapse of 2-star empires. Their minds, interlinked across vast biological relays, were immune to panic, rooted in logic, ancient instinct, and unbreakable unity. But now, the hive sang a new note: alarm. The Anubis had arrived. It did not decloak. It did not fire. It simply appeared, a matte black ship shaped like a jackal's skull, orbiting silently above the jungle moon of Rinthak, the Krell's primary breeding world. No record matched its profile. No signal identified its origin. The ship radiated something the Krell had no word for: presence. Moments after it arrived, the dreams began. In Hive Cluster 017, thousands of Krell drones stirred in their nutrient chambers, twitching in confusion. Neural static infected the collective dream field. Visions of two-legged figures with burning eyes and wings of metal. Gates of fire. Voices calling from deep within their minds. Your judgment has come. Submit. The queen node of Cluster 017 sent a thought spike of denial. Resistance. Identity. In return, Anubis answered with silence. And then something worse. It sent a signal, not encoded in mathematics or radio, but woven through the hive's own neural frequency. It manifested as a scream, low and primal, stretching across miles of living thought. Krell bioconstructs collapsed. The jungle around the node withered. Eggs burst from within. The queen reeled. Then Anubis broadcast an image into every node, every spore and scout. A scale tipped. One side was fire, the other shadow. At the center, a humanoid figure stood with a jackal's head, pointing a spear of light. It was judgment, and the Krell were found wanting. Back on Scylla Station, Commander Rafecade stood before a hollow projection of the galaxy. Dozens of systems blinked red, zones of sudden silence, unexplained power outages, military withdrawals. The Valkyrie, Leviathan, Ares, and Anubis had done their work. Fear was spreading faster than fire. Reports flooded in. Conclave fleets stalled at their borders. Civilian worlds requesting diplomatic talks. Entire systems issuing mythology quarantine advisories. No one knew what was real anymore. Captain Reyes approached, holding a data slate. High Command says we've hit psychological saturation in 7 sectors. Most civilizations believe Earth possesses tech or entities beyond comprehension. They're not wrong, Rafe replied. She raised an eyebrow. But we don't, not really. Half our tech is prototype. The rest is illusion. Smoke and mirrors. That's all myth ever was, Rafe said. A way to shape reality through belief. And belief is contagious. She considered that. So what now? He turned toward the display, eyes tracing the blinking stars. Now, he said, we make them listen. The Galactic Conclave, once dismissive of Earth, convened an emergency assembly. Delegates arrived in panic, arrhythmic, twitching, agitated. Every species had been touched in some way. Dreams haunted their nights. Glitches infected their ship systems with Earth mythology. Some believed Earth had allied with extra-dimensional beings. Others whispered that humans had rediscovered ancient star gods buried beneath their crust. All they knew was that the myths they mocked were now orbiting their skies. The human delegation arrived last. This time, not a lone observer. This time, a fleet. Rafecade led them in full war regalia. Behind him marched captains of the 4 warships. They wore armor shaped after Earth's ancient heroes. Winged helms, etched metal, cloaks made of nano-weave flame. They didn't speak at first. They stood, and that silence echoed louder than any threat. Finally, a trembling Voxari delegate spoke. What are you? Rafe stepped forward. We're the stories you laughed at, the myths you dismissed, the warnings you ignored. He looked around, gaze steady, voice cold and clear. You thought us primitive because we dreamed of gods and monsters. But we were remembering, preparing, and now we've become what you feared we might. Velik of the Delorii, who once laughed in the Hall of Echoes, trembled on his perch. Is this conquest? No, Rafe said. It's a reminder. He stepped to the center of the chamber, raised his hand, and from orbit, the Anubis triggered a planetary-scale aurora shaped into wings of light, visible from every conclave capital. Humanity remembers what others forget. Fear has power. Belief shapes reality. And we have spent a century turning stories into strategy. He paused. We're not here to rule you. He smiled slightly. We're here to make sure you never laugh at Earth again.